Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Super Tease video. And I promise this time that I'm not being lazy because I'm actually here. The beta is down, unfortunately, so my Covenant review for Restoration Druid is going to have to wait until it's back up. Instead, we've got a whole bunch of Druid legendaries thrown at us right here. Not all of them, it's not complete, and all of these are also subject to change. But I wanted to give my initial reaction because this is the first time that we're getting to see these legendaries. Now I'm going to be going over all the specializations. I'm going to be going over which ones will fit the best playstyle for you. So if you're someone who likes to play everything, you like to do battlegrounds, raids, dungeons, PvP, which legendaries fit for you, which legendaries fit if you just want to be parsing really high in raid, which legendaries fit if you just want to be pushing Mythic Plus, what works the best in all given situations is what I'm trying to take into consideration. So here on the first one, we've got Druid Runecarve 4. I was not impressed with this one to begin with, but when Moonfire Rake, Rip, or Rejuve are on a single target, they basically do 30% more damage, right? Now, it doesn't really benefit Guardian too much. Thrash is not included. Generally, as Guardian, you want Moonfire on as many things as possible. Moonkin, you want Moonfire on as many targets as possible. Feral, you want Rake and Rip also on as many targets as possible, and you also want Rejuve on as many targets as possible. Druid is just, that's how it's built. It's a multi-target class, and this legendary seems to go against that. The only benefit I see for it would be if you're attacking a raid boss that is the only target you can hit. Potentially its throughput is high enough that it would be competitive in that environment, but you're pigeonholed right into that one scenario. So to me, this is a legendary that I'm not going to be personally going after unless the throughput is ridiculous when it releases. Otherwise, it doesn't suit my playstyle too much, and it really only suits one specific playstyle. The next legendary is Druid Runecarve 3. Your damage over time effects occur 25% more quickly, and your healing over time effects occur 10% more quickly. Now, this one is pretty crazy with the synergy that I was just talking about. The Druid class is all about dots, and it's all about hots. You get to enhance all of that by 25% for damage and 10% for healing. This is a nice legendary. It's solid overall. It fits every single specialization, and it fits them in basically all of the content of the game. So in my mind, this is a legendary that I'm looking to get early on, should it stay as it is before the game actually releases. Currently no third general legendary available. And the fourth one, Druid Runecarve, I would imagine is one, listed as one. The effects of Thick Hide, Astral Influence, Feline Swiftness, and Ysera's Gift are increased by 100%. Now, the major benefiters here are the Thick Hide and Ysera's Gift. Astral Influence is just 5 extra yards on range, and Feline Swiftness is just a bit of extra movement speed. These are not great benefits. Thick Hide is going to be your damage reduction, though, and Ysera's Gift is going to be your best healing output in the game for a Druid as multiple specs. Now, this is something that will benefit you a lot, as basically every specialization in the game. So this could be a legendary that you want to go after. It's going to be focused a little bit more on durability and survivability. So if you're a Guardian Druid, perhaps you want to go after this one a little bit more than the Druid Runecarve 3 that I suggested earlier on. Or if you're struggling to survive in PvP, then this one could be a good option as well, because it also grants you Heart of the Wild for 15 seconds every 1 minute when you shift into that affinity form. How is that going to work for if you're a Boomkin shifting into a Resto Druid form? Because Resto Druids don't technically have a form. Perhaps that if you leave form, then you gain Heart of the Wild for 15 seconds. You get a big Swiftman. Your Ysera's Gift is healing a lot at all times. It seems like a good defensive-oriented survivability legendary. So if that's what you're going after, you want more survivability. It seems like it would also be a solid dueling 1 versus 1 legendary to go after, and it fits all the specs and it fits multiple aspects of the game. So to me, it's a solid legendary overall, and it's going to be a bit of a contest between those two, Druid Runecarve 3 and Druid Runecarve 1, if I'm a player looking to play multiple specs. When we move down to balance, it becomes a little bit lackluster. Onus Clear Vision was a legendary that I enjoyed a lot in Legion because it brought back that similar gameplay to Mists of Pandaria, where you would get Star Surge procs. Now, instead of getting them from your dots, you got them from each respective spell. Now, I think that this legendary should be changed slightly because Starfall functions differently than it did in the past. You're not looking to have multiple Starfalls out at the same time. In my mind, you would want it to be Star Surge increases the damage of your next Starfall by 15%, and then Starfall makes your next Star Surge free. Myself personally, I would love to see a legendary brought back or a conduit brought back that brings that Mists of Pandaria playstyle where Sunfire and Moonfire have a chance to make your next Star Surge instant cast. Because that was easily the most fun mechanic for me personally. I know that's what makes Elemental Shaman fun as well, keeping Flame Shock up for Lava Burst procs. I'd really like to see it come back as a playstyle, but at the moment, Onus Clear Vision could be a solid contender if you're focusing purely on Balanced Druid, and this is a legendary that will work well in all environments, PvP and PvE. Primordial Arcanic Pulsar. Again, this is a little bit lackluster. It's basically the Azurite trait, Arcanic Pulsar, except it's got Primordial in front of it. Instead of being a certain number of Star Surges cast, it's going to be every 40 Astral Power, so you can use Starfall as well as Star Surge. Now, from my experience, of course, this is likely to change in the beta, is that getting Astral Power is really hard, and getting 400 spent is very difficult for only 9-second benefit. Now, in PvE, if we end up being all about Celestial Alignment, then this may be the one that you have to go after. But in PvP, I see this one being a difficult sell comparatively to that of the Onus Clear Vision, or when we scroll back up to Druid Runecarve 3. To me, Druid Runecarve 3 would just be kind of flat out better than both. Your dots at all times, rather than focusing around these cooldowns. Again, it kind of depends on the playstyle of the game. If cooldowns end up being more important and impactful as they have in the more recent expansions, or if your sustained damage overall matters. Unfortunately, we still don't know what the third and the fourth ones are going to be for legendaries for Boomkin, so that's going to be it for this. Feral, we've got Apex Predator's Craving. Rip damage has a 4% chance to make your next Ferocious Bite free and deal the maximum damage. So Feral Druid's kind of stealing the one that I would like for Boomkins, where their dots make their big damage spell free and do maximum damage. That seems like a really good one for PvP, paired up with some honor talents to get some massive Ferocious Bite damage and reduce the max health of the target. So Apex Predator's Craving seems solid overall for Feral in both PvE and PvP. Druid Feral Runecarve 2, Tiger's Fury causes your next finishing move to restore 3 combo points. Interesting play here. I guess it's going to depend on how combo point starved and energy starved Feral ends up being as to whether or not this is going to be a competitive option. It is in my mind that for PvP and even PvE, the rip damage is 4% chance would be better overall, maybe less than PvE. This one's a little bit more of a difficult sell for me. Druid Feral Runecarve 1, clear cast abilities generate 25% of their energy cost, and your maximum energy is increased by 60. So yeah, something was going to be combo point generating or energy starving. It seems like the Runecarve 1 option here would be the best choice, and this one in the middle kind of falls a little bit short. I guess you could line up a double bite maybe. You could go for a Ferocious Bite, Tiger's Fury, Ferocious Bite, or Tiger's Fury, Ferocious Bite into a Ferocious Bite and try and burst down a target. It's more on demand. So maybe if you're playing with Hunters a lot, if Feral Druids are still playing with Hunters a lot, you would want that legendary. But if you're playing with Warlocks, you would want this legendary, or if you're focused on multi-target. It seems like a bit of a single target versus multi-target versus regen options here. And in PvP, I think that you're going this for multi-target, and you're going this for single target. And this is probably more of an elongated boss fight scenario where you're going to be focusing more on maintaining your energy through a long fight. And currently there is no fourth legendary for Feral Druid. These ones seem to be contesting more so, in my mind, for Feral than the general ones. Maybe, though, a Resto Affinity Feral Druid would want to go for this still, getting the bonus healing to their team and extra utility. Again, depends on your play style. Or you might want to focus more on just the Feral specific legendaries and getting your maximum damage output. That's going to be a personal decision for you. Guardian, we've got Druid Guardian Runecarve 1. Thrash has 20% increased damage, 30% increased radius, and can stack 1 additional time. This seems a lot better if you're just a Druid who wants to focus on Guardian than pretty much any of the baseline ones. In my mind, it seems like if you're going to be playing Guardian, you're going to want to be focusing on the Guardian specific legendaries that are shown here, as opposed to going after the general specific ones. Unfortunately, you could make them work, but these seem like a lot more value. Druid Guardian Runecarve 2, Barkskin reduces damage by an additional 15% when it begins and ends. You gain Iron Fur and Frenzied Regeneration. Nice little charge of extra armor, a big heal, makes you really beefy for those boss hits that might KO you. So nice little legendary there if you're focused more on raids, or if there's a specific Mythic Plus key that you're trying to push really high and there's maybe a one-shot mechanic that you can't push through. This could be the legendary that gets you through that. It seems like this would be a good option in that situation. Druid Runecarve 3, Thrash has a chance to trigger an additional Thrash. Really good for just trash damage. So if you want to focus on multi-target, Mythic Plus dungeons, maybe Fortified, this seems like a good legendary to go after. PvP as well. If you're in some rated battlegrounds, you're just thrashing around on multiple targets. It seems pretty good there. Legacy of the Sleeper. So this is the artifact ability returning from Legion. Berserk in bear form grants 25% increased damage, 25% leech, and immunity to effects that cause lose of control for your character. Now, you know what's interesting here, and I'm wondering the synergy on it, is that Feral Druids also, I believe, have access to Berserk. So if they used Berserk and went into bear form, would that mean that they are immune to loss of control effects like a stun? You could utilize this legendary as Feral if that did work with this synergy, and immune yourself to a kidney shot, for example, by activating Berserk. It's a bit interesting because a lot of teams like to crowd control Feral Druids during that Berserk window. But if you had this legendary, you could anticipate it, jump in bear, and be immune to it. You would be giving up a lot of damage to go for that, but just something to take into consideration. This one would be the best in PvP in my mind if you were going to play Guardian Druid, but there are not that many loss of control effects. If you wanted to focus on a burst window for Guardian, then this is going to be your choice. Your multi-target is going to be this as your choice, and then your just sustain overall is going to be this choice, and then your damage reduction or survivability. And depending on which one you want to focus on, that's going to be the legendary that you go after first. Moving down to Restoration, we've got Memory of the Mother Tree. Wild Growth has a 25% chance to cause your next rejuve or regrowth to apply to 2 additional allies within 20 yards. This seems very obviously to be a raid legendary. Anything focused around Wild Growth. Generally in PvP and even Mythic Plus to a degree, Wild Growth is not as valuable. It's just very expensive, mana costly, and doesn't get that much healing out really. So this is, to me, this is your raid choice for a legendary, and if you only raid, then it's going to put you in a solid spot. The Dark Titan's lesson: you may Life Bloom 2 targets at once, and Life Bloom's final healing is increased by 200%. I'm curious to see how this works with the PvP talent that also reduces the mana cost and lets you stack the Life Bloom. Would you be able to stack Life Bloom on 2 targets? That's going to be pretty expensive to do. This is focusing your Resto Druid more at single target healing. So maybe if you're in a raid group where you're the tank healer, this would fit for you, but generally speaking, most of your healing in PvE is going to be coming from Efflorescence or Tranquility and Wild Growth, so this seems like a tough sell in PvE in my mind. Now in PvP, it could be a great sell against Purge teams, so if you're really sick and tired of priests that run at you and spam Dispel on you, and your Life Bloom's going to bloom for 200% more, that's very insane. So this is kind of your counter Purge legendary. And if you want to go after it first for those situations, if it's a problem, right? We don't know yet with the tuning how strong Purge classes are going to be, but if that ends up being an issue, then this is going to be the legendary you would want to go after. Druid Resto Runecarve 3, Swiftmend no longer consumes the heal over time effect. So if you didn't know, in Shadowlands, when you activate Swiftmend, it removes the heal over time effect. Big downside to the spell. That's what it used to do in the past, and that's returning. So this will then remove that benefit and bring it back to the way that it used to work before, but also with a buff, it extends the duration of all of your heal over time effects on target by 10 seconds. So if you did a big overgrowth Swiftmend combo with this, you got a massive wave of hots on one target, or maybe gonna go for a Convoke the Spirits and get a ton of heal over time effects on multiple targets. I mean, this could have, to me, it has insane value overall for Restoration Druid. This seems like the go-to for Mythic Plus and for PvP in my mind, at least for arenas. It would work in all aspects of the game, though, for Raid as well, I think. And you can be running Overgrowth in PvE. It's now a normal talent, so good synergy overall. Solid Restoration Druid, legendary. in just all situations. Seems like a good cookie cutter, safe one to go for in my mind. And then the final legendary that they've released here is Rejuvenation Healing. Has a 2% chance to create a new rejuvenation on a nearby target. This is very similar to old set bonuses, I think, from Wrath of the Lich King. And again, seems more focused at raid. So just rejuve can spread to a new rejuve to another target. It's way less valuable in PvP. It's way less valuable in Mythic Plus where there's less targets. Doesn't seem like that would be the go-to for you. This would be a raiding druid only. And that would just probably be more guaranteed throughput than Memory of Mother Tree. But Memory of Mother Tree seems pretty solid overall. Those are your two raid options. And then you got your PvP and probably your Mythic Plus PvP. In my mind, if you're Resto, you're going for Runecarve 3. This is your safe pick. And then your second pickup for a legendary, if that's even available so early on in Shadowlands, would be kind of your Purge Protection legendary with the Dark Titan's Lesson. So that's going to be it for my video today. I hope you enjoyed it, going over some of the legendaries that have been announced. And I'm still going to be doing my Covenant review, so don't expect those to be going away. I'm just pumping those out as much as I can when the beta is available. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified right away when all my content is coming out. I'm making sure that this is a reliable resource for you to gather data and make your decisions with Shadowlands, because your decisions are going to be quite permanent, and you really want to take in as much information as you can. And that's my goal, is to gather all that information, give you my opinion based on past knowledge and experience as a top-rated rank 1 tournament competing commentator, basically living and breathing WoW. And that's basically the point of the channel. That's the point of these videos. So please consider subscribing. It's absolutely for free, and you'll be notified right away whenever that information comes out from me. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.